Today I'm going to show you how to make sheet pan enchilada casserole 2 ways. This is going to be good. Okay, so I'm going to start with the green chicken enchilada casserole on the sheet pan, and I'm going to boil some chicken. I've got a little over 3 pounds of chicken going into a pot of cold water. To that, I'm going to add 1.5 tablespoons or heaping tablespoon of chicken bouillon powder. That's optional. Season how you like. I'm going to crank up the heat and let that boil and cook. So for the green salsa in this recipe, I have a really good recipe for it. It's very simple in my cookbook, or you can use store-bought. It's 16 ounces going in this recipe. So I'm going to use cold corn tortillas, and I'm going to cut these into 4s or into quarters. And I'm just going to go right down the middle and then in half again. And this makes it so easy because now I'm going to just layer these on a baking sheet with parchment paper, and I'm going to put a layer down, add some cooking oil, and then add the rest right on top. And I'm going to warm these through. You want to heat them through. You don't want to turn them into crispy chips, but you do want to heat them through with the cooking oil because it keeps its texture and it doesn't disintegrate when you add anything wet on top of the corn tortillas. So cold oven. And as I'm preheating the oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit, I'm going to let them warm through for a couple of minutes during the preheating process. Okay, so at this point my chicken is done. So I'm going to remove it from the pot. And I also want to mention, to make this recipe even easier, just use rotisserie chicken. Pick up a 2-pound rotisserie chicken from the grocery store, shred the meat, and you've got cooked chicken ready for this recipe. Another tip is to save the chicken broth. You can use this when you're making Mexican-style rice. So good. Okay, so I'm going to remove my tortillas out of the oven. It's still preheating, by the way. I just wanted these to warm through. And so now it's time to put everything together. Here, I have my bowl of shredded chicken. And for the cheese, I will be using 8 ounces of mozzarella. Here I have some Colby Jack cheese, but that's for the other casserole. But 8 ounces of low moisture mozzarella. And here I have a 15-ounce container of Mexican table cream. I would say heavy whipping cream is the equivalent, and I have my green salsa. So I'm going to start with a handful of this shredded cheese, and that goes right on top. And then I'm going to go in and just add all of the shredded chicken. So I can't tell you how simple and easy this is if you have store-bought salsa and rotisserie chicken that you shred and already pre-shredded cheese. I mean, this is seriously a meal that you can put together in under 30 minutes. So just layer all of that tender chicken. I'm going to use every last morsel. Those 3 pounds of chicken pieces just yielded a lot of tender chicken. And after I add all of the shredded chicken, I'm going to season with some onion powder. By the way, season how you like. I'm also going to add a sprinkle of seasoned salt. This is like a seasoned salt blend that I'm almost out of, and just sprinkle that on top. And now I'm going to go over with half of this jar or container of this heavy cream. This is actually thick Mexican table cream. It's not sour cream, and you could use sour cream if you like, but I'm going to just drizzle this all over the top. I would say 1.5 cups is what I'm going to end up using out of this. So I think one more pass over with this. And now I'm going to add all of the green salsa. And use your favorite store-bought one, homemade one. And honestly, if you don't have green salsa, sometimes I like to add just like a salsa roja. It all comes together and tastes great in the end. Okay, so I'm just going to make sure I get this kind of like evenly distributed. And this is the best part about this sheet pan casserole. You're working with a large area, so the toppings and ingredients can be very creative. Okay, so now I'm going to go over with more of my crema. Honestly, I'm eyeballing the cream, but 1.5 cups should work. Okay, now for all of the cheese. So recently I posted Better Than Pizza sheet pan casserole, and someone in the comment section asked if I had other sheet pan recipes or if I've tried sheet pan enchiladas, and to that I say yes, I have. This is exactly what I make. It's either this one or the other one I'm going to show you in a minute. Okay, a little bit more of the crema, and that's that. You'll want to make sure you preheat your oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit and bake for about 25 to 30 minutes. So I think for those of you that love casseroles or enchiladas and love the crusty edges, a sheet pan version of this really does yield a toasty top and crusty edges. So if you like those textures, then you should try this. Oh man, this looks amazing. Okay, let me show you how I make the other one. So I'm working with 1.5 pounds of lean ground beef. I'm gonna add oil to my preheated pan. Well, semi-preheated. I'm gonna shake in some onion powder, like a 1/2 teaspoon to a full teaspoon works, and the same for garlic powder. Typically 1 pound of ground beef works for this, but I'm working with 1.5 pounds. That was the package. I'm adding like a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and I'm gonna break this apart, and I'm just going to cook and brown the ground beef in this pan. So for this version of sheet pan enchiladas casserole, I'm going with more like the Tex-Mex chile con carne and cheese. So I like to make this sauce slash enchilada gravy, and I mixed all of my ingredients, but this is what I used. It's in my cookbook. I labeled it as red sauce, but it's like a red sauce gravy, and it's just cooking oil, all-purpose flour, chili powder, chicken bouillon or beef bouillon, garlic, onion powders, ground cumin, and 2 cups of water is going to go in. This is going to create a roux, then a sauce. Okay, so my ground beef is cooked. I'm going to create a space in the center. I need a little extra cooking oil in the pan. Now, if you're using like 80-20 ground beef, you might need to remove some oil, but I'm going to add this all in the center. And essentially you're creating a roux with all these seasoning spices and flour. So I'm just gonna mix it around, and you'll wanna cook the flour or this mixture for about 1.5 minutes, maybe a minute. Okay, so now I'm gonna add 2 cups of room temperature water. If I were to add hot water, you run the risk of having a lumpy gravy sauce. So room temp water works. Okay, give that a mix. And what I'm going to do is crank up the heat at this point, and you'll want to bring this to like a simmer and let it thicken. So this is exactly what I'm looking for. So I'm going to shut off the heat, and this is ready for the sheet pan casserole that we are going to build. I'm going to prep the corn tortillas the same way. Cut them into quarters and layer them on the baking pan, and just add cooking oil, zhuzh them around, and you're going to warm them through in the oven. And once these are done, it's time to build this. Okay, so I've got my warmed layer first with the tortillas. Now I'm going in with a handful of this Colby Jack cheese. I'm using about 8 to 12 ounces of cheese for each of these casseroles. Like, definitely works. Okay, so now I'm just gonna pour over, or just add this because it has, as you can see, it's really thickened. I'm gonna add this ground beef mixture right on top. Essentially, I'm speeding things up. I kind of have to just add it in different sections, and then I'm just going to spread it out from corner to corner all over, and that'll be the gravy sauce mixture meat layer. And this version of sheet pan enchilada casserole is my son's favorite. Okay, going on with the rest of the cheese. And this one is really simple once you get the meat cooked and the sauce mixed together. Okay, so going in the oven for another 25 to 30 minutes at 375, and this is done. I just like things melty and gooey, but if you really want a crispy, crusty top, then maybe crank up the heat to 400 degrees Fahrenheit and put it in the upper part of the oven. Okay, these are both done, and it's time to dig in. And that's that. My green chicken enchilada casserole one has set for a little bit, and it came out in a perfect piece. And I'm diving into this. This is like my favorite. Now this casserole didn't set as long, but it still came out in one piece. So once you serve them, be sure to get creative with the toppings and enjoy. I hope you give this recipe a try. I hope you like it, and thanks for watching.